My name is Barry Cranford, in case anyone doesn't know me or they're here for the first time. And this is an FCC event, or Fractional Consultant Community. So we've been running this now for about 3 years, and we run these events. They're part around education and part around networking. So Chelsea, who's here as well, will just be sharing a document soon. So you can put all your LinkedIn details on there and connect with everyone else on the call, and obviously Lior as well. But this is an interesting one. So Lior and the company that he represents was introduced to me by a relatively new fractional, and so having run the fractional community and spoken to hundreds, I've become aware of the challenges of picking up work, and that always seems to be the first thing for many new fractionals. Um, Networking has come up over and over and over again from people that are doing this, and the people that have been successful doing this, as one of the tricks of the trade, or the secrets that they've learned. Many people haven't always known entirely how to approach it, how to go about it. And Lior was introduced to me by somebody who had used their services and swore by the frameworks and the things involved. So yeah, when they offered to do a session here today specifically around networking, we bit their hand off. So without further ado, I'll introduce you to Lior Weinstein.
Thank you. Can everybody hear me okay? Wonderful. Pleasure meeting y'all. So thanks for the warm intro. I'm Lior, and today is about a simple idea. If you show up curious and generous, doors open without forcing them. This is part of my general philosophy to life and business. A few years ago, when I ran a very successful marketing technology agency, I was pitching my clients. Most agencies try to promise you results and promise you outcome. And I told my clients, I can't predict the future, but I can promise you process and effort. And what we're going to do is create an environment where growth is inevitable. So a lot of my philosophies and stuff that we teach in our company as well are around that. Like, how can you make things effortless without trying to force them? Kind of think about it like if you put a seed in soil and it has the right, water and sun, it's going to grow. You don't need to motivate it to grow, right? You don't need to use Tony Robbins techniques. So for quick context, I help founder-led companies scale, and I run CxOs. This is a community where fractional chief technology officers build thriving practices, and CEOs meet the right technical partners. So kind of like the operating system under all of that is relationships, not the collect business cards kind, but the kind that compound. So here's today's map. Why normal networking feels bad. And I want to cover the curious and generous framework and give you some, like, just a practical playbook you can use tonight, this morning, wherever you are. And we'll do some Q&A, and I'll share some of the ways our community applies this daily. Success for you today is walking into your next room, online or offline, Zoom, whatever it is, and knowing exactly how to create real momentum with people you actually want to know. Now, if anything lands or not, just connect with me on LinkedIn so I can introduce you to relevant people if I meet them, and would love to just connect. And if you haven't already, please find me. Also in this room, just for context, if you ever have a longer relationship with us, Keely Cable, my incredible head of everything, head of life, he runs my life, and Jeremy Bergeron, my chief of staff. I am in Austin, Texas, where I moved just about a week ago. So if any of you happen to live or come to this area, please let us know as well. So the story of how this kind of came about, I network a lot. I'm in a lot of different events, and I once left this kind of New York mixer with like 25 business cards and not a single relationship. And I try to figure out, like, what went wrong. And I realized, you know what, I showed up trying to extract value and not create it. And I was really, in my mind, this was years ago, I was much younger, thinking pitch first instead of people first. And I realized there's just these kind of traps when you go into these rooms. So for example, I end up scanning the room instead of seeing the person. I was kind of trying to find, who should I talk to? And then I was focusing on transactional questions. So what do you do? and then go, maybe there's a pitch. Now, I was a young startup founder raising money, trying to get clients, trying to get capital. And I also didn't have any clear follow-up path. So everything just kind of died in the inbox or in the room. So, so to reframe this, like, this isn't a be nicer talk. This is a leverage talk. And the way I think about it is that curiosity surfaces the real problem, and generosity solves it faster than a pitch. Okay. Now, if you adopt two habits, be deeply curious and lead with useful generosity, you'll stop chasing and start magnetizing. So here's how I think about this kind of curious and generous philosophy. So pillar number one, curiosity. And you can think about it in terms of mindset and then some micro skills to help you move through it. So general mindset, be interested and not just interesting. People love to talk about themselves and they love hearing their names. Like, who here had read How to Win Friends and know that book? Yeah, great book. And there's a lot of very funny TikTok videos about both people who read the book and just like, hey, Fred, nice to meet you. Hey, Lior, I know this is amazing. Because one of the key tenets is, say your name, say their name, build rapport. So some of the openers I like, as opposed to just like, what do you do? Is like, what are you building this quarter that you're excited about? Okay. People love to talk about what they're doing, what they're building. So think about that. Think about like, what cool thing have you done lately? Okay. So this is a bit out of frame questions, which is already like building rapport because people are not used to hearing those types of questions. Right. So what are you building this quarter that you're excited about? And then you can, let's say they say something exciting, and then you can kind of go into mini coach mode, which is very good because what's nice about coaching frameworks is that people, you ask questions and they answer their own questions, and then they give you all the attribution of why that was a great answer. And so the context of that, let's say you ask you, what are you building this quarter that you're excited about? And you're like, wow, I've been, I'm about to launch this app. I just raised money. I'm, a lot of team changes. And then you can ask a coaching questions like, what would make that twice as successful? Which is really just helping for them put a spotlight on their growth. And again, people are not, how many of you were asked that question? Certainly in a casual networking session, as opposed to like a one-on-one, coaching session. So what would make that twice as successful? What would make that 10x bigger? How can you do that 10x faster? Right? These are good mind-opening questions. It's a fun conversation. They get to talk about themselves. You get to learn more, and they actually get to make progress on whatever they're working on right now. And then you can ask some context questions. So if you think about an opener, what are you building this quarter you're excited about? Do a drill down question. What would make that twice as successful? And then add context. How will you know it's working? Because now they have a new idea. So you ask them, how will you know it's working? And then the classic coaching question, like a constraint question, what's getting in the way right now? Right now, the point is to make it organic and conversational. So I'm giving you these tidbits. And by the way, if you want it, I was asked originally if we have slides. I'm like, no, I like talking about this. But if you want some of this, written down, we can AI take the transcript and create a handout for you. So what are you building this quarter? What would make that twice as successful, or 10x bigger, 10x faster? How will you know it's working? And then what's getting in the way right now? Is there anything stopping you? Now, it's very relevant for my personality. If you look at my LinkedIn, you'll see that I iterate on my life purpose, and the most recent iteration is dissolving people's self-limiting beliefs with love so they can be inspired and pursue their passions. So whenever they get to talk about something they love doing, that's why I like asking building questions, because that usually means they chose to build it. And that's why I like to ask constraint questions, because usually it's a self-limiting beliefs, right? It's like something you think, yeah, because of this, I can't do it. And then I get to do my shtick. I get to actually say, well, what about this? What about that? What about, this person you can use, or this, or find it on Upwork, or reframe the problem, right? Make it actionable. But with all of this, you can imagine the conversation is way deeper, very quick. Like what I just shared, all of those 4 questions, you can plot in like 2 minutes flat and just go through them. But it's a very different networking conversation than, hey, what do you do? Where do you live? What's your favorite baseball team? I'm not a sports guy, so those conversations don't work on me. And I find that that kind of conversation actually leads to something I can use professionally if I want to. And if nothing happens, they got something out of it, and I got something out of it. I got to know them better, know their priorities. They got to think about something new. And usually, if we break off in the conversation, they're gonna find me later. Yeah, man, that guy. Now they answer the questions. I just gave them the questions, right? So they had the answers. I just gave them the questions. Now you really want to listen. One of the cool things I learned in like a personal relationship workshop is this kind of active listening. By the way, highly recommended. It's a book called Getting the Love You Want. It's a book about relationships, about couples, and been around for 30 some odd years. Absolutely beautiful. And they talk about this method of active listening and reflecting back and mirroring, right? Yep, there we go. Getting Love You Want, a guide for couples. Thank you, Keely. And when anybody shares any story, I recommend you repeat back what they said. Okay. So it's not just listening, but say, I heard you say that so and so. I understand that so and so. Now, because you're asking questions about business, you should say it back, paraphrase, so they see that you're learning and not just parroting. But then maybe suggest an hypothesis, right? So like, let's say they share about friction. So maybe the context is going to be like, so the real friction isn't leads, it's converting mid-funnel because demos feels samey. Is that close? Right? Something like that. I kind of reflect back, but then I try to reframe and give them an idea. Well, it feels like maybe the problem is the mid-funnel conversion because of the demos. Now, if there's like another thing you can consider is like turn to someone and then one asks those 4 questions, one answer, switch after 45 seconds. And your only job is the asker, like don't solve, discover, ready. So this is the context is if you have partners with you. So if you're in a networking event and you have 2, 3, 4 people around you, just have one person ask questions and then another person answer and try to kind of be an MC for the room. I can answer more about that if you're interested, if you find yourself a kind of multi-party conversation. Now, to cap that, pillar 1 is curiosity. So have the mindset, be interested, not just interesting, and have those little micro skills. So have an opener, like what are you building this quarter you're excited about? Have drill down questions, like what would make this twice as successful? What would make this 10x easier, 10x bigger, 10x faster? Have context cues, like how will you know it's working? And ask constraint question, what's getting in the way right now? If you have these kind of 4 things in your pocket, you can really make a dent in the conversation and build a lot of rapport. Now, the second pillar is generosity. I'm very big on giving first, no scoreboard. Okay, just give no scoreboard. So this means offer something concretely useful with no immediate ask. So I'm the least protective person about my time, which is probably not the best thing to do. But if I feel like I really like someone and I would want to help them, then I can give these kind of pawns, right? So like a warm intro to a vendor partner they actually need. Like let's say they talk about a marketing problem and they talk about a sales problem or a technology problem. Let me introduce you to Jake, right? Something like that. If I can give them like a tear down of their landing page, if it's a marketing context or their LinkedIn, if they're a fractional CTO trying to get clients or they're a website trying to figure out stuff, I'll absolutely do it. If you have playbooks, like we have a lot of playbooks at CTOX. So if I'm meeting a CTO, maybe I'll tell them, hey, let me send you our menu or let me send you our network activation, protocol, something. Just give them something you have, some IP you have. And one of my favorite thing though is to give them like name the right metric that they're not tracking and a simple way to measure it. Now, what does that mean? They talk about a different problem and then whatever problem they have, and I would try to figure that out. I would try to think, well, have you looked at your conversion rates? Have you look at your, well, don't worry about impressions because impressions, don't matter. Have you looked at your time speed to lead, right? Right, very common in the sales environment. So I try to learn what is this thing they're doing and give them some KPI to work on. Now I can tell you, I've spoken on dozens of stages, big stages. Even now, last week in Dallas, packed room, big conference, 1,500 people. And every time, my last slide, here's my email, here's my actual phone number. And I can't tell you how many years, the past, I don't know, 15, 18 years, I've been speaking on different stages, different rooms. How many times I give my phone number? I think I can count on one hand the amount of time people actually texted me or emailed me after. But the brownie points I get from sharing it is tremendous. And I actually learned this from this huge investor. I remember I was a young entrepreneur, 2007, raising money. It was this big conference. I'm from Israel originally, so big conference in Israel. And this big shot investors, one of the most famous angel investors in the world. Okay. A guy, legendary guy. And he's on stage with like four other, like with the CEO of Intel, just like crazy people. And he's literally putting them on the spot. And he says, hey, share your number. So if people want to contact you, I'll go to fuck. He's actually doing it. And everybody's sharing their number and everybody's sharing their email, like their Gmail, like their actual like private email. And I'm like, wow, that's incredible. So I learned that and I adopted it for any other networking event or speaking engagement that I had. Just share my contact details. It builds tremendous rapport and it costs you nothing. So being generous is a big pillar. Give them advice, give them context. If I offer like, hey, let's just get on a Zoom for 30 minutes. Here's my calendar link. What's nice about my calendar links, they're already set up with my availability. So if there's a slot open, it's open. I don't need to negotiate through it. I don't need to like figure out if it matches. Like it already has my free time. It has my family blocks. It has my workout blocks. It has my business blocks. So if it's free, it's free. So I try to give as much insight as I can. If I can give introductions to somebody, I do it. If I always contextualize the introduction. I'm like, hey, I just met this guy, so they know this is not my best friend, and please prioritize it. And if I don't mind, if I kind of like where the conversation is going, I certainly offer a meeting. I offer multiple meetings, and it's really good. Now, some guardrails exactly because of that. Don't overshare a consult for like a full hour. So try to find these kind of value for snippet points. Primarily think about the fact that if you're a networking event, there is a time bomb on it, right? You're going to be there for, I don't know, an hour, 2 hours, 4 hours, whatever it is. I never dismiss someone. That's just like me. Like if we happen to get into a conversation and I'm like, man, this is not really going anywhere, I'm not going to be the guy that really dismisses them. But I'm also not going to keep the conversation flowing because I want to move on to something else and make sure that if I can deliver value, I can deliver a lot of value. But I would tell you, I never seek. I don't give off seeking energy. I don't give off needing energy when I'm in a room. Now, certainly that means it's not a sales event for me. I don't go in like a salesperson and I try to, take names. Does that mean that some networking events I didn't take full utilization? Absolutely. But over time, that just works. And yeah, Jeremy just said, this is how I started. So I was giving a talk at a conference and Jeremy asked me, hey, can I get on a Zoom? And I'm like, yeah, sure. Because anytime somebody asks me, I say yes. Like I literally tell them on stage, if we're sharing atoms in this room, you can contact me. So if we're together right now, you can contact me. I'm like, okay, something made it happen that we're together. Please contact me. So don't know, like I would say try to not like consult for a full hour. Aim for quick value wins. If you can defer, like, hey, let me email you my template, let me email you whatever. Do that. And then don't do a boomerang ask. That just let reciprocity take care of itself. As soon as you do what I call a boomerang ask, like as soon as you're like, yeah, I'm gonna do this, can you do that? You lost all that emotional. And I think that's not gonna spiritually benefit you and not gonna practically benefit you. Just if you learn how to give first. Actually, a friend of mine, Joe Polish, wrote a really great book that I can't find right now, which I recommend. His really latest book, What's in It for Them. Great book, highly recommended. Maybe we can find the Amazon link. and put it. And really, it's that thinking, what's in it for them? When you're talking to them, thinking, what's in it for them? How can you give? If you find yourself like training your giving muscles, you'll see that a lot of it is going to come back. And by the way, if anybody has any questions about any of this, just feel free to unmute or put in the chat, and I'll try to look it up. Okay, so principles are nice, but just kind of to operationalize them. So the way I think about it is through this 5-step loop. So it's called 5 S's. So spot, identify who you want to meet with before you enter the room if you can. So if you know what room you're going to be in, and you can do like a light research, maybe now with like ChatGPT, that was great. But spot, and if you can't, try to do it in the room. Spark, so open with curiosity and surface real context and content. Okay, don't just like, what do you do? Where are you from? These conversations over. It's like banner blindness in web. Like as soon as people hear those questions, and I'm sure that's the same for you, when you hear those questions, people start to ignore, they kind of put into this automaton brain, and we want them to open up. So what did you build? Serve, offer at least one useful thing fast. If I'm known for something, and if any of you get to work with me or see me in a room, I'm known as the useful guy. I'm known as being very helpful. So if we're having a 5-minute conversation together, 2 minutes, certainly 50 minutes, you're going to take notes. You're definitely going to take notes. So spot, spark, serve, and then signal, state who you help and how. Now, this is something that's relevant if you have a specific business. So this is, when we have our fractional CTOs, they're fractional CTOs for something, right? We help them figure out what's their niche positioning. And for all of you, it doesn't matter what kind of fractional you are, you're going to build better traction if you state your niche and you increase the relevancy. Now, for me, at this point, my niche, the way I filter for my clients is founder-led companies, the $20 to $100 million in revenue with big missions. And my clients are actually fairly varied. I have healthcare, I have finance, I have like different things. But if I wanted to build my career from scratch, at this point, I have a very active network and I have a good amount of referrals. I would be known for something like fractional CTO for fintech companies, right? Series A, Series B, or it'd be healthcare companies, $30 to $40 million in revenue. Your relevancy just shoots up dramatically, and people have scaffolding to think about you. If they just meet you and they're like, man, that David's great, super smart, love him, but they don't know how to think about David, they're never going to call him. They're never going to call him.
If I'm just another fraction in the ocean of fractionals, I don't stand out.
That's right. They're never going to call him. And it's not about how he made them feel. He made them feel great. It made them feel confident and, very likable, super amenable. But they don't know why should they call him. So then when life continues, and most people don't have like a stated need for fraction. They have a stated need for an outcome. Right? They want to grow their business. They want to save money. They want to work on costs. They want whatever. The how to get the outcome might be fractional. That's the innovation of our market. I like saying, hey, I have an idea for you. I can give you 100% of this outcome for a fraction of the price. And that's a tip for all of you. That's something we teach in the program. Don't position fractional in the context of finance. Oh, sorry. Position fractional in the context of finance. Don't position it in the context of outcome. Okay, I actually say there's no difference between fractional and full-time. It's the same responsibility, same accountability. But good news for you, you don't need my full-time attention to get the outcome that you need. I have so much experience. I can do it with way less time because I'm an expert. And because I can do it with less, I'm going to charge you less. And I get the benefit of having multiple clients. I love working with different opportunities. Maybe some of them I have upside. So it's a good symbiotic relationship with both of us. But in terms of accountability and responsibility, it's the same. If I'm trying to build differentiation, it's easiest to build it on the niche side and kind of stating plainly, clearly who you serve. Now, if you can't do it, at the very least, say what you are, like what's it. Don't just say David, say fractional so-and-so. But if you can, ideally say, yeah, I'm a fractional COO for hospitals, under 500 beds. Great. And then if they are themselves that kind of client, perfect. If they know that kind of client, great. If they have a problem that like they're in their business doing the thing and now they're trying to get this outcome and they have a problem, they're going to remember you because you were talking about that problem or you were talking about that market positioning. And last thing is sustain. So spot, spark, serve, signal, and sustain. and follow up with a very light cadence. But that cadence is what compounds. Okay. Send an email, send a text. I haven't had a business card since 2008, maybe 2007, 2008. People obsess about it. They obsess about their logo. They obsess about their website. I can tell you right now, I don't have a website or a business card or a logo. Not three. Plenty of business from here to Wazoo. Okay, so none of those are impediments. You don't need them to get business. In fact, I don't have a business card. If I meet David, I'm like, hey, do you have an iPhone? Yeah, let's bump. Way better. 50 times better than giving you a business card. Now, Jeremy's actually very good at this. Like if I meet people, I try to remember. I'm like, hey, David, let's bump, phone, contact, whatever it is. And if you have Android, that's, disheartening, but we can exchange contact details nonetheless. But I take a picture. Right, to go, hey, let's take a picture together. Right, I put it on the contact, and I send it in that text message. I'm like, hey, it's Lior from so and so. No ask. Now, if we had a follow-up thing, I'm like, hey, remind me, let's talk Monday or something like that. But start a thread together. That kind of connection is in multiple orders of magnitude stronger than any business cards leave away, right, that you just collect. So five S's: spot, spark, serve, signal, and sustain. Now, just rinse and repeat this on events, on LinkedIn, inside communities, in a room, whatever it is, breakouts, conferences. When you think about that, you think about who do you want to meet, spark with curiosity, serve them somehow, offer a useful thing fast. I hope, like by now, we're 30 minutes in. I hope you got some useful things, even one thing. But if you got at least one useful thing, now in your mind, Lior is useful. And that's great. And maybe we'll work together this year, and maybe we'll work together in 2050. But forever the imprint is going to be Lior is useful, which is really what you want. Now, the other things you also want like nice and fun conversation and, all these other things. But utility is the differentiation. Event or a Zoom, there's no utility. Now, they might be fun, but most people are also not fun. Now, this is a personality thing. I'm an extrovert on Zoom. I'm not an extrovert in person. And so, some people are just like they're happy. They're the life of the party, right? They're like happy. And I don't have that energy. I'm more of an introvert energy, in a room. But in my bubble, it's a good bubble, right? In my bubble, I'm happy. I give people the right mindset. They feel better. I certainly try to give them like practical things if I can. I don't gatekeep anything. And also in your mind, I recommend this like as an attitude. If you can give so much value in a minute or 30 seconds, and you're like, no, but this is why they pay me for. I'm like, dude, they really like pay you so much money for a minute. That does like make no sense. Just if you can give so much value in minutes of your time, please give it. Go get paid for the big things. Get paid the big dollars, big contracts. Don't try to win a $500, consulting session. That's pointless, right? Your business is not going to get built from those tiny interactions. They're going to get built by people really trusting you and just giving you the keys to do something. In our fractional CTO space, I'd love to hear a little bit in the room, but in the CTO space, the retainers are usually like for an advisory type relationship, 3, 4, maybe 5 a month. So this is like 4 to 10 hours a month worth of type of work. And then on what we call an engaged type relationship, so like an equivalent of a full-time responsibility, accountability, those retainers generally range 10, 15,000 a month. These are big contracts, right? And when you have that lifelong relationship, that's a 6-figure relationship, which with the right, like if you service it right and you're in the right market, can lead to 7-figure relationships as well, because if you get multiple clients, lifetime value, those kind of things. So don't nickel and dime.
Yeah, I often people often say, don't try to solve a client's problem on a sales call, on a conversation. And I'm the complete opposite. If I can solve their call in this half hour or 2 hours that we're talking, if I solved their problem, there was no value in that problem to bring me in at $15,000 a month, $20,000 a month, $5,000 a month, right? But if they did recognize the value of that, maybe they come back later.
That's it. That's said it beautifully, right? If you can solve the problem now, solve their problem. Don't gatekeep it. You're going to get all the trust points, all the relationship capital, which is really what these networking events are. So it's creating relationship capital and leveraging relationship capital. That's what you're there for, right? You're not really there for anything else. It's all about relationships. So if you left the room with new relationship and stronger relationships, that was a good event. That was a good room, right? So like before the room, if you can, try to make a short list, like 5 names or profiles. Again, if you have time, if you have context, you know what's going to be there. And then think about those kind of specific curiosities, like ask Jane about her post Series A, something. And again, using right now ChatGPT, Claude, those kind of thing. And think about your one line if you can. Like one CTO I worked with, his one line was like, I help founder-led companies untangle tech so sales can scale without hiring a 20-person team. Something, whatever that is. Again, the ChatGPT Cloud world, hey, help me think about a one line for this mixer tonight, right? Yeah. If some people do this, I don't really do it, but they use their Calendly or their calendar to do like a 15-minute, chat. So it's like you can book me at any time. Some people do it actually on their contact, like their phone contact. So they have a calendar, like just, quick, it's free, it's unlimited, just, book me anytime. So like 10, 15 minutes, like little sprints. That's kind of nice. I don't do it. I don't do it because usually what happens for me, I try to develop relationships that are going to go to something bigger. So I'd rather have longer conversations than short one, but it depends on your context and your industry and stuff like that. Some like fun openers I had is like, what brought you here? Like hunting for ideas or people? Just see what their purpose is, in the room. Or like, if this event is a win for you, what happens next week? Okay, you're trying to ask questions that they don't usually ask. Now, something that Joe has in his book, What's in It for Them, he talks about these dominoes. Like, what's one problem you solve that would make everything else easier? Or what's one relationship you can have that is going to make everything easier? That's going to just be a quick shortcut. Now, some real-time value questions, or the real-time value, like, some of the mental models I use is not, that's a sequencing issue. It's not a tooling issue. Try this order, right? Change how you look at this. Or 2 people you should meet. You should meet this person for email, this person for HubSpot. Do you want me to intro you? So these are like quick value statements. And this is recorded, by the way, so you can get all the things. And once you get good at them, you just learn, you have your hooks. You have your, like, how are you creating quick value, snapshot value. For me, usually when I do talk about positioning, I say that I play fractional CTO or CRO for $20 to $100 million businesses when tech is slowing growth. And I develop my own framework, which I call the functional technology framework, where I de-risk, unclog, and scale the business. And so usually when I talk about that, it's interesting enough. So if it's the right ears, and a good mental model to think about it is a dog whistle. So whatever words you use, they're going to land in a certain way in the client. So don't worry about them not understanding, because the right people are going to understand. The right people are going to be curious and go, I want to learn more about your magic words, wizard man. And then know how to close the conversation. So let me send you that one pager. Let me do the intro. What's the best email? Right? That's like a closing, because it's a follow-up task. It's also a closing, and that's a natural progression to just, hey, let me get a drink, something like that. Close with value. And the way to do it is close with the value you can follow up with, right? So intro, email, content, whatever that is. Usually also I have this library of tools in my mind. So if they talk about something, I'm like, oh, have you tried, 11 Labs, or if you tried Hyperbound, if you tried HeyGen, or, whatever that is. Usually people love tools, to write. So I recommend that if you have that kind of thing. Now, after the room, follow up Try to follow up within 24 hours. So like, great to meet you at event. As promised, here's the thing. Here's the intro, to Jess. Here's the nurture email sequence. Here's the PDF, whatever that is. And I want you to think about like a 3-touch follow-up after. So if you want to ask, give, and ask. Okay, don't ask. What is give, and ask? So in like day after the event, send a promise, whatever, introduction, assets. A week after that, do a quick check-in, right? Hey, just wanted to check in. Did you connect with the thing, or did you like the resource? Did you end up checking out the website? After 3 weeks, then I would do like a light ask. Hey, just, wanted to do a sanity check on so-and-so. Do you want to talk about something? I usually, in my business model, don't really need to ask. But if I were instructing my salespeople or my business people, I would tell them, yeah, just like 2-3 weeks after, make sure you gave at least 2 or 3 times, and then ask, hey, can I share some more information with you? Or do you know anybody that might be relevant? I really like the do you know anyone that might be relevant? Because then if they are relevant, they're going to raise their hand. And it feels more like an indirect question than just trying to pitch. So their guard is more down, as it should be. And you still get the whole benefit of the value. Now, if you're introducing, I like very quick, simple introduction, like adding you and Jake. You both care about X. Jake meet David, who's great at fractional CTO for, so-and-so. You are tackling a specific thing. No need to reply. If it's useful, run with it. Right? I'll let you two connect directly. So very quick kind of introduction emails. If you want to, some people like tracking, I just use a simple spreadsheet. I don't think you need a CRM. I think, like, in my view, adding these complexities to networking slows you down and slows the value down. So if you want to keep track with a spreadsheet. I personally don't, because I'm more of a karma kind of thing, kind of putting in the seeds, putting the relationship, and whatever is going to boomerang in value is going to boomerang. But if I were trying to actively grow a pipeline, I would absolutely keep track. And it makes a ton of sense. Now, LinkedIn posts, if you're trying to build up this muscle, then I would kind of post specific generosity like type stuff. And like, this could be tear down of something or a checklist or a playbook. You see these posts go viral all the time. Like, I build this N8N workflow. I build this, Google Doc, whatever, comment X to get my copy. Those work very well because you're just giving out things, and it builds a lot of trust. And then you can DM those who comment and give them a helpful questions, right? One of the things we do at CTOX for time, we do lunch with Lior. And that's something we try to do almost every week. So all the prospects that are considering us, they get to just spend an hour, like 30. It's a 30-minute meeting that doesn't last more than an hour. That's how we frame it. And that's a one-to-many type relationship. So if you don't have the one-on-one time, or you don't want to do kind of the digital asset thing, lunch with David is cool, because you can, hey, have a lunch with David once a week. It's nice. It's an easy way to give value. And we shifted that from doing like very long professional webinars. We used to do like once a month, 2-hour webinars, scripted, 150 slides, downloadables, where it's a whole production, right? And then we realized, it's hard in a room. And we had 120 people come, 220 people, like a lot of people. But because it's so many people, it's hard to know exactly what everything lands, and it's a 2-hour thing. So some people find these 15 minutes valuable, these 30 minutes valuable, this like one thing valuable. But with the lunches, it's easy. I don't have to get ready. I don't even have to put my makeup on. And they just come unscripted. Everything is in context because people just ask questions. And I know that if one person has a question, there's going to be 15 other people that have the same questions that haven't said anything. So they write the content, for me. Okay, let's stop for now because I see that we have like about 17 minutes left. First of all, was this useful? Let's start there. Good. A bunch of thumbs up. Any questions? I'd love to hear, by the way, any more techniques in the room. I'd love to hear about it. And Nick, a question about awkward situations. I recognize the 4 or 5 people in the group situation you talk about. I've been in a couple of recently situations where one person just talked and talked through. They didn't really read the group. Any tips for bringing others in? And what do you think about that topic is obviously one. Yeah, that's like exactly what I would do. The thing about people that overtalk, you remember that movie? What's that movie? With the a cappella group. Kelly's gonna help me with this. So they had this famous scene where everybody there were like 2 different a cappella groups, and they had to piggyback on a word and then get to another song. So what I do with like heavy talkers is I try to stop them midway on a word or a concept to use, and then I divert it. It works pretty well. It works pretty well. Does that make sense?
Was it pitch perfect you wanted?
Pitch perfect. That's it. So they had their pitch, whatever, pitch offs. And that's exactly what it is. So when I have a lot of talkers, I try to piggyback on something he says. If I can be humorous about it, that's great. And that depends on the room, and depends if I'm feeling the vibe. I would do funny thing like that's what she said, and just try to break whatever they're doing, and then I would do exactly that. Hey, Jake, what do you think about that? Have you handled that before? Yeah. Now everyone knows I watch cheesy movies. Yeah, there we go. Yeah, I try to break him and do it in a funny way, and immediately move to another person. Now, if I have my own story, I would do that, but I try to get other people talking. This is another thing I generally learned many years ago. Like great interviews, like the best interviewers hardly speak. The best interviewers hardly speak. And you see this on TV, you see this in a podcast, and you see how annoyed you are when you're watching a podcast and the podcast host doesn't shut up. All right, so the best interviewers hardly speak. So when I'm in a room and if I'm in a conversation, you'll notice I'm not the one that speaks the most. When I speak, I try to make sure it lands. I try to make sure it's valuable, but I really try to get other people to speak. Any other techniques? So David, looks like you're doing a bunch of networking stuff. Any also techniques that kind of resonate here, or that you think some ideas to polish them?
This is still far from my superpower, so I network a lot. How successful it is, to be honest, I don't feel I've been very successful at it. I mean, I've successfully built a network. What I've not successfully built is a pipeline, which is actually my goal.
Okay, and what do you do? What kind of are you a fractional?
Yes. I mean, long story short, I recently decided that I would overcome imposter syndrome and hang a fractional CTO's shingle. But previously, I've been just focusing on calling myself an advisor of some sort.
I wouldn't do that. So one of the things we do in the program, we teach the difference between like consultants and fractional. And that's also very useful, like if you're in kind of prospect conversations. And the way I frame it like this, I say consultants are there to solve a problem that somebody else defined, usually
Right.
the wrong problem defined. The fractionals are there to define the problem.
Yeah.
So when I go into clients, I tell them, I'm going to turn all your black boxes into glass boxes. Because usually on the technology side, for the CEO that's non-technical, most are, it's a black box. They don't know what's going on. They just know they need it. They know it's very expensive, and they have a feeling like it's not going, like it's too slow or too expensive or whatever it is. So I'm going to turn all your black boxes into glass boxes. And my value is translating your business vision into outcomes through that area that I'm in charge of, if that's on the revenue side or the technology side. Now we call this, and this is also something you can, as a networking thing, we call this the what and why conversation. So when you talk to a prospect, and that doesn't matter if you're talking to your hairdresser, or you're talking to an actual big CEO. We use this recursive function. Like, what are you trying to do? Why are you trying to do it? What are you trying to do? That gives you the tangible things they're trying to achieve, and you can wrap your head around and start ideating in real time. Why you're trying to do gives you their reason and their motivation. to do it. And also you can cue in on their emotional attachment to the problem. Now, especially in technology, it's very important because here's how the conversation goes. Well, like, what are you trying to do? I'm trying to launch an app, by December. I'm like, oh, why are you trying to launch an app? Oh, I think it's gonna, help our clients do so and so. Like, why? Why do you care? It's like, oh, we're trying to save money because customer service, we have 80 people on our customer service line and it's very expensive and they keep answering the same things. And so I'm like, oh, what does it matter? 80? And he's like, yeah, it's too expensive. I'm like, oh, why is it like, how much money are you trying to save? Like, oh, well, the company is like 10 million in revenue right now. I'm trying to sell it in 3 years. I'm like, oh, cool. How much are you trying to sell it for? Like, oh, well, I hope in 3 years we're going to get to 15 million. I can sell it for 50. Great. Once we're in that sphere of money and reasoning, now I can land my thing. I'm like, oh, I can solve all this for you for like $250,000. 250, I'll get it solved. Right. By the time you talk about
you drove directly to the value of what's in their head, and you got them to put a number on it because you went to where does it affect revenue?
Yeah. And if I can get to enterprise value, like my worst conversations in quotes are with founders that never want to sell their company. And the reason is because there's no multiple. The multiple effect doesn't exist. So they might have a big business, but I can't just like take 50 million and multiply it by 5, which is really what I'm trying to do. Like if I can. Now, it doesn't mean I'm not going to take a founder that it's not trying to build a company, but it makes my life way easier if I can just like miniaturize my rate and the context of my cost relative to the outcome and thing they're trying to build. Danny, what differences in style have you found between networking in the US versus UK and Europe? So I think what I'm sharing works everywhere. Absolutely works everywhere. In American style networking, you would have the more direct, aggressive type networking, which again puts a lot of guards up. It puts a lot of guards up. I think for fractional, it's very different because it's not a service that's just ideally, that's not on or off. It's not an advisor engagement. If you position yourself an advisor, you're actually positioning yourself out of power, right? Out of responsibility, because you're by definition giving advice. There's this kind of context in service delivery that everybody wants a six-pack, nobody wants to do the sit-ups. Right. So when you're an advisor, that's what's happening. You're becoming in this kind of McKinsey, BCG, Deloitte frame of advice, but now you have to metabolize the advice. You have to do the work. As a fractional, they hire you for your full rate. You do the sit-ups and they get the six-pack. Right. Very different positioning.
Right.
So
but those are also different offerings. You can offer either one to either to different clients or to the same client, depending. It allows you to give some price control.
Correct. So we're big believers in menu, because if you have a menu, you can easily default into it. It gives you easy kind of railroad tracks to talk to, and you don't need to. And also, it's like a Chinese menu. It's like, well, it's 38. It's not me. It's the menu. That's just the offer. That's the price. So it's an easy way to negotiate the price, to explain the price, to explain the service scope. The conversation is about outcome. If you do it right, the conversation is about outcome. And then if to achieve that outcome, I'm like, oh, you don't need much. You have a great team. Like in our CTO context, a lot of people come in originally and they're like, well, what if a company already has a CTO? I'm like, one, that CTO might want to leave or the CEO might want him to leave. But more importantly, if they have a CTO, you can be an advisor to the CTO because you can have a specific specialty that they don't have and they're already like completely full. So maybe you're coming in for the AI portion of what they're trying to do. Or maybe they're not good at team building. They're more of a CIO and they need to build, engineers and they're not that strong on that side. So like you can always service them exactly because you have a service menu. You can just do something else. We also recommend one time, like workshops, something you can kind of get in and out. I would say though, the challenge with European clients, we have a few our CTOs from Europe are actually fairly successful, but they're much slower in decision-making than the American counterparts. The American CEOs are faster to decide. They negotiate less. So Europeans negotiate less, negotiate more, which means you need to be better on the value conversation, on the outcome conversation. If you get them excited enough, the negotiation is not going to be as challenging. Lee, I had some advice from a coach where they said to identify in LinkedIn posts what you bring for the CEOs, reading it that addresses what they want to solve. Do you think this is a good way to lead in conversations in person as well? Say more. What do you mean about that?
Very easy to find mute. The advice I have was that when you're leading with LinkedIn postings, you're looking to try and solve the problem, trying to grab the attention of the CEO. But is that the same when you're talking to them in person? If you're in an event, say like there's events going in the next couple of weeks, do you lead with that with the CEO, or do you recommend kind of taking more of the standoffish approach?
I mean, my frame is value. It's not like if you can solve, if you can frame their problem, if you can solve the problem, do that. It's not about what you say. Like good networking is about what they say. So like the point is missed if you're getting into a room and you're thinking about what you're gonna say. I'd rather you get into the room and think, what are you gonna ask? Right? You're gonna get more out of that room than obsessing about your pitch. That makes sense. If you have really good questions, you build a relationship, build rapport, you get a tee up to build value because now you're gonna say something that they care about. If you're gonna lead in unknowingly, like you don't know what they care about and what they prioritize, you're probably gonna miss it most of the time. And you're gonna also have a negative reflection on you because if you talk about something that they don't care about, then you have negative trust. It's not neutral trust, it's negative trust. So I think it's better to come into the room and think, what questions am I gonna ask, as opposed to, what information and am I gonna share? I had a question. I saw the question earlier about the also like about the 4 or 5 people. Another thing I want you to note is like just the physical nature of groups. So if it's like a tight close circle, skip. And if it's like a Pac-Man, if there's a gap, it's a joinable group. So if you have like a size that's like 2 or 3 people, easiest to join and build depth. If it's like 4 to 6 people, you can think about like a mini panel. So you can think about like a structure. But if it's 7 people, just say hi, don't linger, try to spin off, to a smaller chat. Make just a brief eye contact, get a nod, get a nonverbal kind of welcome before speaking. Sometimes I kind of, hey, all, mind if I listen in for a minute? Just to get into like if I couldn't find any group to tie into. And in a group also keep saying their name. Like, Alex, sounds like you're weighing speed versus quality on the pipeline. Like if you time box this, you can learn something. Curious what you've seen, Priya. Like you go to someone else and try to share. Yeah. Any more questions are coming? Thank you, Jeremy, for the 5-minute warning.
Before people drop off, are you able to share some details about the CTOX program, about what the offer is there?
Yeah. So like I said, we're an accelerator for fractional CTOs. Our main focus, we have all kinds. We started last year. We have over 220 people in the program. It's a paid program. We try to teach you how to build your own growth system. We don't teach anybody how to be a CTO. So that has to be like, you have to be at that level coming in. Now, a CTO for a chiropractic group is not a CTO for a HubSpot, right? So you have to be good enough for the level that you're trying to service, whatever that is. But we're a business program. We teach you how to make money. Most people in the program, their target is like 40,000 a month, 500,000 a year. But it's a bell curve. Some people come in to make another 100, 150 grand a year as a side income because they want to coach their kids soccer and volunteer at church. Some people want to build a 7-figure practice that they're going to sell for 8. So we have all the playbooks. Everything in the program is recommendations, not instructions. And we kind of tell you, we're trying to collapse 3 years into a few months. Everybody in the program is smart enough to figure it out. We just have the map. So instead of you going in and figuring out the terrain, we just, hey, we know what works, we know what doesn't. And there's a community. So generally the program, 3 pillars: curriculum, coaching, and community. On the curriculum side, we have hundreds of videos and worksheets and GPTs and templates and contracts and like all the things that otherwise you would spend a lot of time on. The community, everybody's on Slack together. We're on Zoom dozens of times a month, optional for whoever wants to join for whatever training. And then coaching. Coaching is done in group sessions. Either something like this, we do a workshop, or one-on-one. There's a lot of one-on-one time. Usually I'm the guy that is going to work with you on your niche, on your pitch, on your negotiation, proposal reviews. And it's phenomenal. Some people come and they just want the content, so I have a low price option for them, just all the videos, all the worksheets, all the templates. And some people want the full blown, I want to speak to Lior once a week. So it's a big range. It's very cool. We love what we do. I've been a fractional CTO for many years, probably trying to think, at least 7 years, if not more. I'm an active fractional CTO for about a dozen companies, say 2 advisors and kind of 10 bigger retainers. And that's the only thing we do. So it's not a general fractional accelerator. It was born, by the way, if you have fractional CMOs here, we have a sister company, CMOX, that does the same thing for fractional chief marketing officers. They've been around longer than us. And that's it. And if you like more information, of course, we'd love to help you. And like I said earlier, if we're not sharing atoms together, we're sharing bits. So if we're in this room right now and you want my help, I'll connect with me on LinkedIn. I'll put here in the chat my calendar. And like I said, if it's on the calendar, you can book it. And yeah, love to get to know you more. Love to get to help you. Hopefully this was helpful. That's it. Thank you all.
Thank you.
Thank you so much for going through that. And everyone, thank you so much for being here. The document is still in the chat, so if you haven't opened that yet, please do open it. It's got all of Lior's details and everyone else who's been on the call, so you can do some networking and get some details there as well. But yeah, one more time, thank you so much, and hopefully we'll see you again on here before too long.